So nice to sit down, just you and I. All too often, people are too busy talking about how perfect you are. They just lack the vision. I can fix you. I can make you perfect.
Okay, so today I'm out here because I want to talk about bike geometry and really dialing in your bike fit. Now look, this may not be revolutionary for everybody, but I have to admit that this season my mind has really been changed on a bunch of geometry numbers that I kind of held sacred, and I've started to play around with some different ideas, and the results have been absolutely stellar. I've never felt more connected to my bike and more in control of my bike. So for this example, I'm going to be using my YT Izzo. This is my daily driver, so it kind of makes the most sense. So let's get into it.
So this story begins when I had a chance to borrow my buddy's size small Noli Fugitive. That bike had a reach of 420 millimeters, which for a guy who's 5'11", 180 centimeters, same wingspan, and a 31.5-inch inseam, that seems completely ridiculous. But to my surprise, the bike handled extraordinarily well. I had so much freedom of movement on the bike. I could get my weight way behind the rear axle, making it extremely easy to lift the front wheel. It didn't require that I muscle anything. I could just use my body weight to lift the bike up. So ultimately, it ended up being a much more relaxed motion than I was accustomed to with a longer reach. The additional standover clearance gave me a ton of room to angulate the bike. It was just a much tighter and more playful, more agile, more fun package. But up until this point, I've been exclusively riding large frames, which have somewhere in the neighborhood of like a 475 to 480 reach. What this really allowed me to understand is that I am simply oversizing my bikes. I really wanted something a little bit shorter, a little bit more playful. But I wanted to achieve that without sacrificing any of the stability that I'd grown accustomed to with the larger frames.
Woo! Okay, so reach can be adjusted in a couple of very easy ways. Obviously buying a shorter bike. Okay, so we've got a shorter stem. It's the easiest, it's like the lowest hanging fruit on adjusting your reach, but the stem does have an impact on handling as well. So for me, I had to do a little bit more exploration. I couldn't just like go out and grab a 35 and pop it on there and be happy with the handling. The bike isn't nearly aggressive enough for something that's going to add that much twitchiness to it. So for me, I ended up testing a 45 and a 40 as well as my regular 50. And really, I really like the 45 for the bike handling characteristics, but I really like the length of the 40. And so I ultimately just decided that I was going to grab a 42.5 mil Bergtech and test it out, see how I felt about it. And it turns out it was the exact right choice for me. I've been extremely happy with the characteristics it has provided me, giving me that shorter reach, but at the same time retaining the handling characteristics of the 45. It's kind of been weird how well it's worked out.
After doing the stem testing, the biggest noticeable difference is just in how much easier it is to bring those bars to my hips. I'm able to stand up much more vertically, which is not only helpful to extend through jumps and boost a bit higher, but also when I'm doing flatland bunny hops, it makes a huge difference in how much height I'm able to generate.
Ryder! Oh, thank you so much. It's just me. And that's why we call out.
It's worth mentioning that the difference in stem length here isn't huge either. I've gone from a 50 mil to a 42.5. It's only 7.5 millimeters of difference, but these small differences really add up. And this is something that you can test on your own. If you go out and buy a 2.5 mil headset spacer, start playing around with even just your stack height and adjusting that by 2.5 mil. Just take one of your existing 5 mil spacers out, put a 2.5 in, or stack a 2.5 on top of what's already in there. And I guarantee you will notice the difference.
Now, the other maybe less obvious option that we have here is to narrow the bars. Now, there's lots of reasons why you might want to narrow a bar that's not strictly for shortening the reach. But I just want to start with this whole conversation around the reach, because of course, if you've got, this is my handlebar here, in a bike stance with my grip here, I can only move back that far against the static position of the stick. If I bring my hands in, I can now move back quite a bit extra. And that difference is really significant because it not only shortens the effective reach, but it also allows us to move our weight around the bike a lot more easily in the same way that we can with a bike with a shorter reach. So the other thing that a narrower bar facilitates is going to be more lean angle, more easily accessible agility through the bike. So if my hands are all the way out here at my maximum handlebar width, which now for me is 760, that far. Now, if I bring my hands in, let's pretend that we were at 780 before and we're gonna make them 760, I can move that much farther. I've got quite a significant amount of lean angle difference available now from that narrower handlebar width. So while we don't necessarily get all of the other benefits of going to a smaller frame, like the increase in standover height, we also gain a couple of things by keeping that longer frame, right? Like, we're still gonna have a longer overall wheelbase, which is important for stability. And look, I will be the first to admit that modern bikes are insanely stable. We really don't need to worry too much about stability at the bar. And in fact, like, I think by most standards, I should be on a 780 bar. I think most of the people my size, you know, like that 180 centimeter with that similar wingspan, they're gonna recommend a 780 bar. And I don't think it's a bad starting point, but, and to be fair, actually, I may even keep that bar set up when I go to my bigger travel bike. But for Edmonton, for my single track here, where it's super tight, it's actually really nice to have that extra flexibility and movement, and to really be able to lean the bike over in tighter sections of track where you're in between trees, and maybe with that wider bar, you might be catching handlebars on those trees on the insides of corners and stuff. So this has just really opened up a lot more opportunities for me. But beyond that, it's actually made the bike feel way more agile.
Now, agility can be one of those hard things to describe. I think it means, or it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for me, I really am just talking about the ease of the relationship that I have with the bike, how telepathic that connection becomes. And certainly playfulness is a part of that too. And I do mean ease, even in terms of like muscular contributions, you know, like, yeah, I can really try to muscle the bike around, but I don't want to have to. That just creates a whole bunch of undue stress and tension. And as soon as you tense up, as soon as you get really muscular about everything, you can't flow. Tension is the number one obstacle to feeling good. And if I'm having to muscle everything, tension is going to find a way to creep into your body wherever it has a chance to.
Now, I do want to be clear. I'm not saying that a narrower bar and a shorter stem is going to allow you to alleviate all tension throughout your entire body like that. It won't. It's not a magic pill. We still have to be conscientious of how we hold tension in our bodies. This is something that's completely unique to every individual. But for me, I have found that these changes have made a significant difference to my ability to stay more relaxed on the bike, because with the narrower handlebars, my hand motions actually have a larger impact on lean angle. But thanks to the overall stability of the bike, I haven't really noticed a detriment to handling or stability at all.
Love that track.
Okay, now there are a couple of other ways that we can impact the fit of our bikes. Now, for me, with my YT Izzo, I did put an angle set in this bike. Anytime you are slackening the head tube, you are effectively reducing your reach. It is going to pull the bars closer to you. With the angle adjust headset, it pulls it in quite a bit. I'm losing about 3 millimeters just from the 1 degree angle set. And obviously, we can be even more dramatic with this if we want to look at getting a proper reach adjust headset. Now, there are some challenges with reach adjust headsets. If you were to put a external lower cup on your bike that had a 14 millimeter stack height, you're going to be slackening your bike out by about 0.75 of a degree. Yes, you're shortening your reach, but you're also increasing your bottom bracket height, you're changing your head tube angle. There's a bunch of other things that are happening here. So that may not be the best solution for everybody, but for the right individual, it 100% is worth exploring. Now, another thing that we can do that effectively shortens the reach, and this is very outside, but we can go with thicker platforms on the pedals. And we can also go with thicker soled shoes, or if we have space to accommodate it in our shoes, a thicker insole. Now, these are the definitions of marginal gains. We may only be getting a couple of mil here, but that may be all you need to notice an improvement to your handling and your connection to the bike, especially if you've already pursued changes to stem and bar width in pursuit of that shorter reach. So overall, what have I gained from going through this process? Now, contrary to what my expectations would have been, these changes have really encouraged me more over the front of the bike. I've found myself in a much more aggressive forward position, which has been really great for front wheel traction. But in general, confidence has been so much higher that I think that's the real deciding factor. I am certainly feeling much more connected to the bike. And in fact, my speed has crept up substantially. And for context, what you're seeing in this footage is me just out on a chill ride. I'm not pushing, I'm not trying to do anything fancy, I'm not trying to break PRs, and yet my times are alarmingly similar, if not better than, a lot of those PRs. In general, I'm having a lot more fun. Obviously, I've always loved riding, but there have been so many rides where I felt like I didn't know how to ride a bike. I'm just battling the bike. I don't want to do that anymore. With these changes, I feel transformed as a rider. Like, I really do. I can now go out on a ride and have those moments of just pure zen where my mind can relax because the bike is responding to the inputs that I'm giving it in the way that I want it to. I'm effortlessly tipping the bike into corners now. I'm pulling the bike up over obstacles. I'm unweighting. I'm playing. I'm finding flow in places I didn't know I could, and it is just filling me with joy. Before these changes, there were so many rides where I didn't experience that even once. Sure, it was fun and the fitness side of it was great, but I never really felt like I was the driver. With this effort to bring my reach under control, that's completely changed. There are people of all different shapes and sizes. And someone is going to hop on a medium and it is going to be perfect for them. And somebody is going to hop on a large and the same will be true. But for the rest of us, we have to find a way to make the established bike sizes work for us. And that's going to probably mean some tinkering to really dial that fit in. So I hope you can use these tips to fine tune your relationship to your bike. If your bike is too small, all of these tricks still work. Just go the opposite direction. Go wider bars, go a longer stem. All of these things will help get you to a better place. But I encourage you to go out and explore and spend some time thinking about these things because I assure you that the results will absolutely be worth it. We'll see you next time.
Whoa! Oh my God, that's so loose. Ooh. Oh, fuck. Woo! Well then. Okay.